here. This general area is the site of plenty of border wall construction and also the related habitat destruction. So I'm here with Lakin and Lucas here, and I want to hand it over to you guys. One of you to sort of orient us. I'll be turning the camera around to show some of the border port of entry area. I'm not going to get out of the car right now, but yeah, if one of you can kind of give us a quick introduction on this small town here and port of entry, and I'll just turn the camera around.
Cool, perfect. I'll let Lakin kind of start here.
Right on, yeah, I'll jump in. So Eric's sitting at the port of entry, which is where, from what most people know of Lukeville, that's the place you pass through to drive to Rocky Point, Mexico, the hub for transportation and travel. But on both sides of this port is Oregon Pipe National Monument, beautiful and biodiverse protected regions in Arizona. And just to the side of this port of entry that you're looking at right now is a massive staging area. Really been the epicenter of border wall construction activity in the whole region. So this area that you're hearing right now has been the site of numerous protests, a number of arrests, and lots of environmental harm has just reverberated the national from the activities that are happening.
All right.
Yeah, and this is an area in Arizona that's really desolate, and not a lot of things going on. I've been coming down here and reporting for years, and until the border wall construction was going on, this was a really quiet neck of the woods. Besides the Border Patrol's effort to curb drug trafficking and human smuggling in this area, it was really just a lot of retired community folks, and like Lakin was saying, the Oregon Pike National Monument, and that's a really beautiful area, and also it just has such a biodiverse, just such a very large environment down there that really allows, just it's like something you really don't see in the desert. Just so many different varieties of plants and animals. And, when we were at the Quito Springs a few months ago, it really just shows how these, just having a little bit of water, a little bit of refuge really creates a space for, deer and antelope and jaguar and everything to come to these areas and have it on their migratory path. So it's really kind of a biodiverse area that's not just for the people that are passing through, but also just for all the animals that live there and also migrate through there.
So just to interrupt real quick here, Lakin was talking about the staging area. This is one part of it, but we're about to drive by the other staging areas he was talking about. But in front of us, you can see big dirt trucks here, some crews. It really, I was amazed at how much there is in the way of construction equipment. And it really looks like an army that's assembled here with some of the areas right off the side of the road. I didn't expect, I mean, I knew there's a lot to building a wall like this, but I didn't expect it to look like this.
Yeah, and that's I've been, in this area for decades coming to the border, and, you really see a lot of this funding pouring in from, since 9/11 and since a lot of the border initiatives under Bill Clinton that really militarized this zone and not only put, large amounts of electronic surveillance and things in the area, but also they built up, large amounts of, truck scanning and things like that. So when they had NAFTA really implemented, they needed a new way to scan hundreds, if not, thousands of vehicles coming through these port of entries a day. So that's why you see these big complexes that are, designed to X-ray entire vehicles at the same time. And they do some pretty...
Right in front of us, actually. I'm stopping right here real fast, but that's one of the electronic scanning machines there. So anyway, go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's definitely been I've seen like a whole litany of surveillance techniques being used down there. Years ago, there was a huge blimp above the city of Nogales, Arizona, which also is right next to Nogales, Mexico, with a few 100,000 people living there. But this blimp had a very sophisticated camera that could see for up to 18 miles away. It could see the color of people's eyes. It could see license plates and stuff. So to give you an idea of that, how intense and how sophisticated some of this technology being implemented down there is, it's really meant to capture and hedge off a lot of the people that are being smuggled through this area. But in that same sense, it really gives, people like the local indigenous tribes and people who just live there, it gives them really a sense of they're constantly being watched. They're living in a border zone that's, constant under surveillance and things. So it really changes the tide of how the dynamic feels down there.
I see. So I'm heading now north. We talked about this a little earlier. I'm going to try to head to the east on a little side road here to head away from the port of entry, but over by the border. Here's an entry sign here for Oregon Pipe National Monument here, Oregon Pipe Cactus National Monument. So yeah, when we come up here, one of you can always chime in if you can see and let me know if you see a good spot to turn off. This might be actually a good spot here. No, it looks like a little just
There's one, I believe it's right across the street from the Oregon Pipe Visitor Center there. So if you see the Visitor Center on your left, the road will be off on your right.
Perfect. Okay, perfect.
And
so
like,
when you
sorry,
guys come here, do you get accosted by a border patrol or construction personnel, or what are your interactions like with the authorities out here?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, it's all shapes and sizes. You usually, if you're there and you're filming and you're documenting, you're gonna get spoken to by Border Patrol. They're gonna ask you what's going on and things like that. But since my coverage down there, started along the border last year, filming the border wall constructions, I've been filmed. I've been harassed by drones and helicopters and local security forces, and all sorts of folks that have been in charge of these and construction projects or supervisors for CBP and the Border Patrol. So they just are really they run a tight ship and they want to know, if there's something abnormal, like a guy like me running around with a camera out next to the border wall, they want to know. So that's usually when I'm down there, I try to contact pretty quick and say, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. Can you let your supervisor know? Can you radio it in, sort of situation? So.
Great. That's good to know. I'll be, assuming the connection's good. I still have a great reception here, but I'll be trying to fly my drone here pretty soon. It's getting close to sunset, but I'm going to see what I can get with some of that footage. What kind of things, Lakin, have you been able to capture with the drone aerial coverage?
Most of our one of the only ways you can when you're up in the air, you can see this wall stretches as far as the horizon in both directions. That stops all wildlife walking. Yeah, so it's I think it's an important way to show the perspective of this massive, destructive this project really is.
I see. So what are some of the things that are going to change policy-wise now that Biden was elected as president-elect? What are you expecting when it comes to that?
Well, we absolutely are expecting that he will cancel construction contracts and send the construction crews packing in office. He can do that easily and legally just by canceling those contracts. But beyond that, we absolutely need to see some of these walls taken down, ripped down in the areas where they're causing severe environmental harm. We're talking about critical corridors for endangered wildlife like jaguars and Sonoran pronghorn. And of course, every day walls stay up. They wildlife. And I think, perhaps most importantly, we're really excited so much. There was indigenous grave study ammonium nitrate in order to make way for the wall, literally moving. So tribal nations that so much.
So I got out of the car here. My coverage is a little bit spotty, so I may not be able to hear everything you're saying. But I got out of the car here just to walk around in the desert, right alongside the road, just to give people an idea of what it looks like. Here you have Saguaro cactus that has died here, and you can see the ribs there. This is a cactus that's really important to the Sonoran Desert. Can one of you talk about a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can chime in. I mean, basically, you know what it's out there. Things grow very, very slowly in the desert. There's minimal rainfall, and every inch of shade is vitally important for the ecosystem. So these swallows, they hold the soil together. They provide shade, and most importantly, they provide homes for a huge number of birds and bats and rodents and wildlife. They make their homes in these swallows. Growing up in Arizona, kids will often read a book called Saguaro Hotel, and that's just all about how important these cactuses are for the entire ecosystem. And I should note that the Department of Homeland Security has destroyed hundreds, if not thousands, of these saguaro cactuses to make way for the border wall. When I was documenting construction earlier this year, every trip down to the border, we would see dozens of freshly killed saguaro cactuses. And as somebody who's from Arizona, I mean, it's like a personal attack because it's illegal to destroy these things. It's a felony. It could land you in jail. And yet the federal government is coming through here and just slaughtering hundreds of them with total impunity. It's enraging.
Yeah, there are laws, from what I understand, as far as construction for normal citizens in Arizona, that if you're building a house or something like that, you have to go to great lengths to make sure that they're preserved or move them. And it's not uncommon to see trucks going around Tucson carrying these saguaros, taking them to areas where they could be replanted. So it's really a shocking thing as an Arizona resident to come out to any area and just see them destroyed. Because like you said, that's very illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm walking a little bit further to the east of the road, and I'm getting to a spot where I can see off into the distance a little bit better. What? Either one of you can come in with this one. Where is the Quitobado Springs with respect to Lukeville in the area I'm at right now?
Yeah, so I think Kita Bakita is about 13 miles to the east if you just hugged the wall. I'm sorry, to the west if you just hugged the wall and traveled along there. But per the closure about, I think, 6 or 8 weeks ago, that area, they're finishing construction. There's still a lot of work going on, and border wall trucks in the construction vehicles going up and down that road. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Lakin, it's still closed, correct?
Yeah, to the best of our knowledge, the Park Service instituted a closure order restricting all access to those springs, which is really blasphemous considering that this is a sacred site to the Tana Atam, the Yachet Atam. Here we have the Park Service restricting access to a sacred indigenous site, which was done intentionally to try and stop people from documenting its destruction and speak out against this beautiful sacred place from being destroyed. I expect they will reopen it soon, but to the best of my knowledge, it is still closed.
Of course.
And just orient everyone, I'm pointing in the direction Lakin is talking about to the west here. You can see it's a sunset. It's probably going to be a beautiful sunset here with some of these clouds, but it really is a picturesque area, and it's just an incredible thing to experience this kind of destruction out in an area that's so beautiful. It's just such a contrast.
Yeah, it's wild. And, I started my career working at Organ Pipe for the Park Service and was just so dismayed to see, even before the border wall construction started, just watching Border Patrol agents driving through wilderness and crushing endangered species habitat. And especially at a place like Organ Pipe, there's already motion camera sensors and all of this technology that track people who cross the border there. I just want to reiterate to everybody who's watching this, the wall doesn't do a single thing to stop or slow people from crossing. Just 2 days ago, a video came out of people climbing over the border wall while the concrete was still drying on a section of wall in Arizona. It can be surmounted in a matter of seconds with a ladder that you can buy at Home Depot. Just want to reiterate, all of this destruction is truly happening for no reason at all other than to feed Trump's ego.
Now,
And
just to show people, I'm pointing the camera right now to the south. You can actually see the wall. It's a thin line right in the center of the screen, and this is just about what you're seeing is about a mile or two to the east of Lukeville.
And we talked about this the other day, Lincoln. But what do you think is the future for this wall construction now that we're moving towards the Biden administration? Now that we're really trying to look at hedging off the damages that are being created by this ecological monstrosity. Like, where do we go from here to like address the fact that there are large desert mammals that are crossing through this area? We don't want to lose them. We don't want to commit to their demise. Like, how do we go from here?
Yeah, great question. I mean, so at Oregon Pipe, they've already installed an electrical grid and they're blasting these wilderness lands with stadium lighting at night. And that's devastating for pollinators and for birds. So, there's a lot of really easy things we can do on day one, like turn off those lights and restore the beautiful night sky that always been. Um, but I think really will need to consult with wildlife biologists, talk with scientists, work with people to determine which wildlife corridors are absolutely critical and which areas we need to cut down sections of wall to reopen that permeability. I think so often we live this like isolated manner where we don't realize just how interconnected our well-being is to that of the natural world around us. And this wall will cause more species to go extinct. And it's totally up to us to cut down the sections that we need to cut down in order to save a number of species from extinction. Species like the jaguar and the ocelot, which if these walls go up and stay up, will never be in Arizona again.
Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit more about the jaguar. I think many viewers they wouldn't associate that with a desert environment, or the ocelot for that matter too. These are cats that have really beautiful patterns. But tell us a little bit more about that, because people aren't used to associating that kind of animal with the southern Arizona border area.
And Lakin, really quick before you start, Eric, if you could mute yourself when Lakin's talking, we're getting a little bit of feedback and stuff.
Got it.
Besides that, Lakin, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, people are so shocked to find out that jaguars are native to Arizona, to New Mexico, to Texas. These massive, beautiful cats have always roamed in the mountains outside Tucson. And one of the last ones was killed up by the Grand Canyon in 1967. So these cats are native to this region, belong here. They're important for the ecosystem. And in the last 20 years, we've seen 7 different jaguars pop up on trail cameras in Arizona and New Mexico. And finally, they're starting to make a comeback from the core breeding population in northern Sonora. Of course, if these walls go up, especially in the mountainous areas, they're still blasting and building all across Arizona as we speak today. If those corridors are sealed off, that will be the end of jaguar recovery in Arizona. Their existence here hinges on them being able to go south of the border to breed, to find mates, and then to wander back up here. They're just such spectacularly beautiful creatures. I think everybody can agree that they do belong here, and that we need to make sure that they are able to access the Santa Rita Mountains and all of the other incredible areas around Tucson where they truly belong.
And a lot of times people talk about, the issues with global warming and stuff, but we don't talk about the full structure of, a mass extinction episode. If we lose these bigger desert animals, it throws the whole ecosystem out of whack. And, we look at losing bigger species. We look at, having certain species we might not want, run into cities and things. So how is this, really small, when you compare it to the global scale of the world region, have ramifications for the entire structure? How is this reflective of what's going on in other parts of the world?
Yeah, I mean, habitat fragmentation is one of the single biggest threats to wildlife and endangered species as we know it. More and more humans are encroaching into natural habitats, and there's actually very little land left for wildlife to do what they do. And the more that we encroach into these wildlife areas, the more likely it is that they'll come into our zones. And yeah, it's disastrous. And the border wall is perhaps the biggest single project that just stops wildlife migration and cuts landscapes in two.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can, under a new administration, we can figure out ways to adapt and mitigate some of these damages that have already occurred, and have more of a harmonious relationship with nature. I think that's just kind of one of my wishes as a filmmaker, and a lot of the work I do is just to bring awareness to these issues so we can have a conversation about them. We don't need big companies, we don't need regulatory structures, just being the only ones commenting on things like this. We need the full scope of indigenous populations, locals, governmental bodies, all sorts, to really address how this is going to affect us now and in the future.
That's great. So one of you, if you can talk a little bit about human migration through these areas. It's a very dangerous trek to walk across these areas, especially when you're trying to do it secretly, stealthily. So what are some of the threats that people face when they cross the border and travel through these areas?
I can start here. Yeah, honestly, it's been a huge shift under policy for decades, with various administrations trying to alleviate illegal human smuggling and trafficking by forcing them to some of the most dangerous regions of our country. And that's what we see here in the desert, where this is a very not a very nice place to be in the summertime. I was filming a series there a few months ago where it was 120 degrees, and the people that are out there doing remains recovery we were with, one of them ended up having heat stroke, and we had to adapt to that medical situation there in itself. So it's just, to imagine having to trek for weeks, or get forced across the border by a coyote, and then having to walk 100 miles with you and your kid. It's honestly a very terrifying situation. But it's desperation that leads people to that. It's our need for workers and people hiring migrant workers here in the U.S., coupled with our policy that doesn't provide enough visas of various varieties to all sorts of workers. And so we really need to take an adaptive look to addressing how there are so many people here already, and we can't just say, oh, there's 10 plus million people here illegally in the U.S., let's just deport them. That they're a massive part of our economy, they're a massive part of our system, and this whole exchange of people across the desert exists because of our failing immigration policies. So when you see people on the desert, when you see folks having to dote on camo and hike across the desert with massive jugs of water, it's not because they're so desperate or so greedy. It's because there is opportunity here for them, and there are employers and of all sorts, and there's different states that are welcoming them in. But in that same regard, it's a dangerous trek, and a lot of them don't make it. And that's what we've been filming a lot and documenting for the past couple of years, is the people that lose their lives in the desert. It's 120 degrees, and there's animals, and there's dangerous situations. There's other cartel groups and drug smugglers out there. So coming across this as an individual, it's terrifying. I couldn't even imagine it.
So there's an organization that goes out and looks for bodies, correct?
Honestly, there's a lot of different nonprofits and just autonomous groups that have organized with that goal in mind.
I see.
So
Yeah.
Right now I'm walking back to the road here. I saw a little ways away from here, Border Patrol vehicle just parked on the side of the road. That's a real common sight. On the drive out here, I stopped counting at 50 as far as the number of Border Patrol vehicles I passed. So the presence out here is pretty intense, but it's still a very, very long border and in large areas to patrol. So even with that many agents out here, there's no chance that they can stop everything.
yeah, exactly. There needs to be adaptive, holistic approach to helping people with their legal process, and also having more advanced forms of surveillance forms that also obey privacy laws and protect the locals that live there, but are more adaptive and more humane than just forcing people to the most dangerous parts of the desert. And I think, honestly, seeing what's been going on the past 4 years on the Trump administration, there's been a lot of issues with the stay in Mexico policy, with shifting the definition of what asylum is here in the U.S. I think we're going to have to, under the new administration, really check out, are these new policies working? Are they, on accord with our American values? Or do we need to reassess things and, address them in an executive order fashion and then move forward here in the near future with, comprehensive immigration reform? That's something I've been a proponent of years. I've, just being here, living in Arizona for the past almost 15 years, I get a really good understanding for how these different communities on both sides of the border are being affected by our policies. And there really needs to be some adaptive change. And I think that's what, people have been hoping for years.
Now, much of the border here travels through Tohono O'odham land, and there's a large reservation that runs through here. Do you guys know if their interactions with the federal government are similar to with the state government? Do they have any sort of extra say? Do they have any influence on how the wall is built or managed?
They should. They absolutely should, because all of the land that you're on right now is all ancestral O'odham homeland that government's turned into a tax monument. But the reality is the Trump administration has explicitly denied them from having any say in this project. I was listening to the tribal chairman talk a few weeks ago, and he was talking about the ancestral remains being blasted on Monument Hill when they were building the wall up and over that hill, which they had to blast with thousands of pounds of dynamite. He said he got a call from Border Patrol on which all over. He was given no say in the process, and that was what Border Patrol called courtesy. Like, oh, we'll give them a call and let them know just an hour before we literally blew their ancestors' graves. So I think that kind of sums up how much of a say they have in this project, and just how much the Trump administration has run roughshod over their human.
I see.
And at that point, the Tohono O'odham Nation voted 90% Biden. They were so sick of Trump's policies, destroying their sites. And I think that's a pretty clear mandate. These are people who live on the border, who know the border better than anyone else. And if they're voting for Biden by 98%, they have a better idea than most other people in this country of what actually happens on the border here.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I just wanted to say really quick, guys, I'm going to get back on the road. I'm heading to another story. But it was great to talk with you guys. And Eric, be safe down there. Lakin, thanks for being involved in a lot of our coverage here on HAPS this week. You can definitely tune in on haps.tv to a lot of our work and see our ongoing coverage along the border. We, here at HAPS, we try to cover a lot of the issues that aren't really addressed by mainstream media, and we have pioneering journalists and people involved in all sorts of nonprofits, just like Eric and Lakin. So please give us a follow and check us out. And yeah, I'll pitch it back to Eric.
All right, thank you, Lucas. All right, talk to you soon. So I'm going to finish up here in a few moments. I'm going to set up to fly the drone to get a view of the areas around here. I may fly a little bit south. I'm a couple miles north of the actual border, but I'll be able to get some good views with the drone. Lakin has some great experience out here flying, especially capturing some of the blasting that's happening on these mountains. So I just wanted to see, do you have anything else you want to add here before we sign off?
I don't think so. No. Yeah. Have a good flight. And yeah, enjoy the sunset out there. It should be beautiful.
Great. And to anyone who's watching, I should be able to broadcast again on my way back up to Tucson, possibly from Y, Arizona, which is about 25 miles north of here. So I may be able to check in. I may include some of that drone footage that I'll shoot right now. So thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate it, Lakin. Love to have you join in for some future broadcasts too. There's a lot to cover out here, and a lot that the media won't really show us. And it's great with HAPS to be doing it live. And in the future, too, we'll be able to end up getting some drone shots live in the middle of broadcast, too. That's something we're working on. But thanks for supporting my work and watching. You can use the stickers feature, buy me a coffee, sponsorship stuff to keep me out here and keep me reporting on this. I'm not out here on assignment today. I'm just reporting with Haps. So thanks for watching. Follow me, share this on your social media channels, and I will see you all soon.